Welcome to the Manufacturing Masters Podcast with your host, Allison DeFord.
As a manufacturer, do you ever feel like you're spinning your wheels, you're trying to be everything to everyone, and you're running on the hamster wheel of death? Guess what? You are not alone, and today's guest is going to help you see the light and give you a way to get off that hamster wheel and really free yourself up to niche down and market to the people who will care. It makes life a lot easier, and it makes sales easier too. Emily Wilkins is the founder of Marketing Metal. They are a marketing agency that helps job shops make big profits. And she and I get into a whole lot of, we're speaking the same language and we share our own experiences. We definitely do not offer you something that we haven't taste tested ourselves. And so that's one thing I love about Emily is she's down to earth and helps manufacturers eat the elephant in small bites, right? You don't have to be doing everything. You don't have to be on every platform. You don't have to show up number one on a Google search, but she helps you identify who's the right fit and how do you position yourself to really attract them. And I'm telling you what, friend, this is going to make sales and marketing so much easier. So join me for a juicy conversation with Emily Wilkins. Everybody, here we grow. Well, kids, we have a real treat today. We have the queen of Marketing Metal with us. Emily, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me, Allison. I'm so excited to talk to you, finally.
I know. We were just talking off air that we've been in the same circles for, I think, a number of years now. And this is the very first time, for whatever ridiculous reason, first time we've ever talked. So
yeah,
I think this is going to be a Kickstarter for a lot of future conversations. And, you know, today we have a really, really meaty topic. And I know you and I have experienced this in our businesses, and so do so many manufacturers. And it's stop trying to be everything to everyone.
Yep.
And I wondered if you would, I think, share with people. I love the fact that, you know, you're also an expert on the Manufacturing Masters platform. You have some really great videos. If you listening are not already subscribed to the platform, I highly recommend it. And one of your videos in particular, you talk about this and you say the job shop or the manufacturer who is trying to be everything to everyone, right? They're afraid to niche down or niche. Like, I know you talk about that in the video, however you say it, and you end up becoming a commodity versus a specialty. And you end up competing on price, and you end up being inefficient and just spending your time putting out fires. And you talk about get out of this hamster wheel of death. I literally laughed out loud when I heard you say that. So talk a little bit about what you see with, I mean, from your, I feel Gestalt is very important. So from your experiences with manufacturers, Are you seeing this show up frequently? Did I miss anything in terms of how this affects them?
Yeah, you really hit the key points. You end up, so there's a lot of things. I think one thing that you maybe didn't mention was just the level of efficiency when it comes to your marketing too. Like how you end up wasting money when you don't have a clear focus of who you're actually targeting. Maybe we should say niching is don't be everything to everyone. It's getting really specific, finding that niche in your industry, that, you know, that tiny little corner of the world that you can serve best. And there are a lot of different ways that you can niche. It's not necessarily by industry or by type of product that you're making. You can also niche in, like, you know, the values that you that are most important to you and the type of customer that you're looking for, right? And personality, and like I think we as business owners, we give a certain vibe with our our brand and our marketing, and with that we attract certain types of people. I actually sent an email about this week on what is branding. Branding is the type of clothes that you wear and how you how you carry yourself, and it's all of these things all together, and you already have a brand whether you know it or not, and it's just defining what that brand should be, so that you can always stay true to it and make the right decisions. I think I jumped all over the place a little bit right there, but but it's all tied together. It's all part of the process with niching down and getting really specific about who you want to work with and how you want to serve them.
Well, and do you see, I've experienced this myself, so I guess this is a two-part question. Have you experienced this yourself? Because I think, I feel like our experience as the lab rat is very important to the work that we do with manufacturers. So, okay, so you said you have felt this before.
Yeah.
We have felt insecure and maybe fearful to niche, right?
Yeah.
Because you think, and so I'm saying this because I think that most of the manufacturers, when we bring this up to them,
Yep.
I see the fear arise, right? And it's, well, what about the people what about that work that we're not going to get? Like, isn't this, it's very scary to position yourself so specifically.
Yeah.
And I love what you brought up, though. Let's say, I think some manufacturers might think, oh, does that mean we can only specialize in, we make one kind of part or one kind of, maybe one vertical. I think what you said a moment ago makes so much sense, that sometimes it could merely be your culture.
Yeah.
It could be your brand as a whole, the promise that you make to the people who will care. And so you don't necessarily have to stop doing or making certain things, but in understanding, could you be of better service and more efficient if you took some things off your plate? I think that's one way of looking at it.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Yeah. And yeah, I see that fear all the time, and I hear that from my customers. Like, well, what if I'm, I don't want to limit myself. Like, what if I'm limiting the type of work that I can get? And it's funny. I literally was just saying this to Eddie Saunders yesterday. Like, the manufacturing world is so small, because like you and I, like, we've known each other forever, but through LinkedIn or whatever. Right. And we come across other people that know each other, and it's just a small world sometimes, and you're like, oh wow, that person, that person, and that person, blah blah. But at the same time, it's a huge world. Like, I just keep finding like new, super specific, weird products that people make, and weird industries that are, that you would never even think of. Like, unless you're in that industry, like, you would never even think that is a thing that exists. So you're not going to limit yourself by getting specific. You're going to just increase your value, right? Because the more rare our skill sets, the more valuable they are, right? So and if you get really specific on either an industry or a type of product, or even just like the way that you're delivering your service, or there are lots of different ways that you can differentiate yourself, and that's what we're talking about here. It's all differentiation. It's how are you differentiating yourself from Joe Schmo shop down the street that's basically doing the same thing. They have the same equipment as you, same number of staff, whatever. But if you're getting really specific about how you're doing your work or how you're delivering. Maybe you have a job tracking system that's really awesome that your customers can log in and see where their product, their work is at. Like, that's going to set you apart a little bit. And anytime you can do it, anything like that, that's just going to increase your value.
Absolutely. And I can say from firsthand experience, definitely felt the fear, right? Because as a marketer, much like a manufacturer, we have the opportunity to market or manufacture, if you will, for everybody.
Fun.
Right?
Yep.
So if we limit that, oh my God, well, what about if this kind of company calls and they want to work with us? It doesn't mean you have to say no. But what I have found, and I think, I know my clients have felt it as well, and so I want to hear from you too, is that once you do it, it is so freeing. I can't even tell you.
Yes.
And when I see a manufacturer and I help them do it, it's now you're not trying to market to the world.
Yep.
You're trying to market to, maybe it's like a couple hundred very specific someone's.
Yep.
Oh my God. I mean, that alone is like, woo, this huge weight is lifted.
Yep. Exactly. It's so freeing. The first time, I will never forget the first time I said no to a client. Like, I mean, because I went from, I started my business 4 years ago. Well, soon to be 5. Just crazy to think about. And, in the beginning, just like everyone, so I will say too, niching is not for everyone. It is not the focus. It should not be the focus for everyone. If you're just starting out, yes, take whatever work you can get. Try some things, figure it out, figure out what you like, what works, what doesn't. But then once you start figuring those things out, that's when you really start to get more specific and you come back in. You rein it in. So when I first started my marketing agency, I was working with anybody I can get, and it ends up being a lot of like friends of the family or friends of your, I'm a sailor. So I had like 4 yacht club clients, and anytime I went to the yacht club to spend time there and enjoy myself, I couldn't because I'm like ducking clients and like trying not to think about work, so it freed me in that regard too, because I wasn't, I had started making a name for myself in manufacturing, and then I have ideal customers coming to me now. So I don't have to rely on these, friends of friends and family friends and whatever. And it's not these awkward conversations anymore, because my clients come to me because they know that I'm the expert, because I've positioned myself that way. And, since I did that, every project I work on that's in that vein, that's just adding to my expertise. I'm just getting better and better and better at delivering the type of work that I do. So, the first time I had a client, one of these clients that I would have said yes to in a heartbeat in the beginning, because I would take whatever I could get, right? I said, no, I'm sorry, I can't help you. I'm not the right person to help you, but I have a friend that would be an amazing, person for you. Like, they would be the exact person that you need. So, and that's another thing that niching does for you too, because being a business owner it's lonely. It's hard to run this thing all on your own. Like, you can't talk to your employees, or you shouldn't, talk to them about all the things that are going on. You can't tell them about, I don't know if I'm going to make payroll this week, right? Like, you can't be talking to your employees about that. So, and like, it's hard to talk to family about stuff like that, and they don't get it. My husband's a W-2 employee at a big corporation, so like, he doesn't fully understand. I mean, he gets it more than most people because he's like my confidant and whatever. But having other business owners to talk to that are also doing similar things to you, but you don't have to feel like they're a competitor, that's been huge. That's been one of the biggest benefits to me about niching down. I'm in a group of other agency owners, and they all have their own special niche that they focus on. And so none of us feel like we're competing ever. And And now when I have someone come across that's looking for, that's not a manufacturer, that doesn't fit in my niche, I can say, yes, I have the perfect person to refer you to, and that is, it's just the best feeling. You're helping out a friend. You're also like, making a great new connection for somebody. It's just a great feeling.
It's freeing.
It's freeing.
Like that's the best thing. Yeah. And in terms of marketing, I think it helps manufacturers become, I always call it seeking versus sought after.
Yes.
So when you're a generalist, you're seeking to bring work in. When you're a specialist and you're positioned correctly and very uniquely, you become sought after because now people are looking for you. And that's so much easier. So I think that's the other caveat to, stop trying to be everything to everyone. If you really focus on, like, one example that I run across a lot, let's say that your manufacturer, that they are trying to reach architects. Let's just say. And when you first start working with them, you say, okay, great. How, what architects are you trying to connect with? What would be the ideal fit? And it's like, well, all architects. Okay. So then
architects there are in the US.
Right. So then I put on my Phil Rank, who I just did an episode with, my process improvement hat, and I start doing the 5 whys, and I'm like, okay, why? And finally we get down to, it's this specific kind of architect. It's this size of company. They are global, they're not just US based, and all the little definitives. So now we have this picture, this persona. And when you're not trying to market to or talk to a gazillion people, but you're trying to talk to and create this little tribe. Oh my gosh, it feels so much more doable, first of all. And I feel like achievable. Right. And so in the past, I think manufacturers have been whispering. They're whispering, but they're trying to whisper to so many people. No one can hear you.
Nope.
It's just like you're in the noise. So I was wondering if you would share some of the different, I know in your video you talk about your marketing efforts will help you build confidence. You say you need to share this positioning and this messaging with everyone that will care, right? Not everyone everywhere, but everyone that will care. And you also suggest asking for feedback. So maybe if you could talk a little bit about the different ways that, well, let me back up for a second. I feel like I'm getting ahead of myself. I know you have a DIY download that helps manufacturers identify. Like, this is where I want to go back to, and then we'll move back forward. What are some of the questions that you ask manufacturers to help them identify and niche down and choose that positioning? What are some of the things they need to think about?
So I always start with, who are your favorite customers? Why? Why? I ask why a lot. Why? Why are they, are they easy for you to work with? Are they challenging? Because I'm working with a company right now. Our tagline that we're coming up with is like, if it's difficult, talk to us. If it's easy, go somewhere else. Like, we don't care about it. They want the challenge. So I think sometimes we live in our own world. Always we live in our own world, and we don't realize how much we live in our own world. We think that everyone's like us, but they're not. People are very different. So, you sound like you got a little bit of what I have going on. Oh, fall. Yay, fall. The best part of fall. Yeah, it's really getting specific about what is it about that customer that you that works so well for you. You know, is it that you can call up the engineer that you're working with directly and ask them questions? Is it that you don't have to talk to the engineer? You know, they just send you the thing and give you the PO, or like really getting into the nitty gritty of like, what about this customer works so well for you? And what about your service that you're offering works so well for them? Like, why did they come to you? Do you know why they come to you? If not, you know, is there someone there that you can ask? Right? Do you have a good relationship with somebody that you could talk to about, you know, find out before they started working with you, who were they using, or, what were they looking for? You know, what did they go to Google and ask for when they were trying to find you before you started working together? Like, really, you know, as much as you can understand about the situation as possible, that's going to help you get really specific about who you want to work with. Yeah. And that's always where I start, is who have you been working with? I guess another question too would be like, what do you see in your industry? You know, what trends do you see in your industry? What government contracts are coming down the pipeline, or whatever, you know, like looking into the future and trying to figure out what is going to be most needed, and how do you think you can position yourself to be that, you know, to fill that gap. Those ones are a little bit harder and a little bit more, you know, speculative, right? But they're helpful.
Well, and you bring up an excellent point, and it's I think a lot of times if you're a manufacturer and you're thinking about, okay, so if we're going to limit, like, I think sometimes it can feel like we're limiting our capability. And I like to encourage them to think about it instead as you are expanding what you can do and how you can do it for just maybe a smaller, more specific audience. And the thing that I love that you brought up is starting with the customer, right?
Yeah.
Where I think some manufacturers want to start with, well, we make this thing.
Yeah.
We make these things and we make them in this way. Maybe your process is your differentiator, but what you said is key. Who are you doing this for?
Yeah.
Who are you being of service to? And really understanding what's important to them, what sucks, like what could you make better, and really aligning with that ideal fit customer.
Yep.
So I think the who is incredibly important. And then, like you said, asking why.
Yeah.
And asking why and why and why until you can drill down. Like, it sometimes feels a little painful. It's like peeling back a scab. Nobody wants to do it.
Yeah, I've heard that multiple times doing this process with my customers. Like, this is kind of painful.
Yeah.
Does everyone struggle with this much? Like, yes, they do, actually.
Yeah. Well, and if it was easy, everybody would be doing it.
Yes, exactly.
So it is, let's do the hard and uncomfortable thing in the beginning. And excuse me, it's a lot like, and I'm sorry, I've got Phil Rank and process improvement on the brain because I just did this episode, but it's like he talks about getting to the root cause.
Yes.
Right? That's that, getting down to that juicy center.
Yep.
And then it's slowing down before you speed up. And then you're actually going to be able to go faster, to feel freer, because you spent the time doing this difficult work. And I wondered, you said a great quote in your in one of the videos on the platform: being loved by some means being unliked by others. And I think that's a hard pill to swallow, and part of that fear, don't you think?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. People, we have a problem of wanting to be loved by everyone, but the reality is you're not going to be loved by everyone. You know, I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that don't love my my brash, no BS, dropping F-bomb occasionally kind of personality. I know that there are I know that there are people out there that don't appreciate it, but the ones that do, they're raving fans. They love working with me. Like, they can't wait to sign up. Like, I seriously have like a line of customers waiting to work with me right now, which I never thought, 2 years ago, I never thought that would ever be a thing. But and it only took that long, like 2 years.
Fantastic.
Not like a long time, maybe, but
no, it does take a while. And maybe we could talk for a minute about once you help them figure out their positioning and their differentiation. Let's talk a little bit about the marketing system that they can then use, because you and I both know that a lot of manufacturers, especially when they're small, have wasted a great deal of time and money on marketing that does not grow sales. So what do you recommend in terms, I know you talk about creating a plan, and that it doesn't have to take a long time and be hard and convoluted.
Yeah.
So like, what does that look like when you help somebody do that?
Yeah. Yep. Keep it stupid simple is what I always say. Yeah, it's I like to take stock of what they the resources that they have. Obviously money and time is a factor. So how much are you willing to invest in this thing? And what kind of talents do you already have on your team? Like, do you have somebody on your team that is savvy with a cell phone and knows how to take a video? Can we get them to set up a video and record themselves doing something, making a part or whatever. Anytime you can have your face, I know you know this, anytime you put your face on your marketing, depending on the platform obviously, but but social media for sure, LinkedIn, even Instagram, like when you can show your face, that's going to connect with people more. Try to figure out how to create in a way that's scalable. This is something that Eddie is fantastic at. Talking about video is a great example. You can transcribe a video and turn it into a blog post or an email blast, or chop it up into a couple different social media posts. There's a ton of ways to to skin that cat. You can go as crazy as you want with your marketing, or just be really simple with it. And it just depends on how far you want to go, how fast. And yeah, the niching is really important, because if for example, that you are targeting aerospace, you can start pitching content to an aerospace magazine, or an aerospace engineering magazine, or try to get on an aerospace engineering podcast, or like there are different ways that you can develop relationships with media to get yourself visible in that way. Buy ads, go to certain trade shows. It really depends on how many customers you're trying to get and how short of a time, and how much you're willing to invest in that, right? But you don't have to do all the things, and I'm real against SEO so much, because I feel like so many agencies for so long saw it as the end all be all. Like, if your website's not ranked number 1 on Google, then you're never going to be successful. Like, that's not true at all. It's not. If you're a consumer brand and you're trying to sell as many iPhones as possible, then yes, you want to be ranking at the top of the list. But otherwise, it's not super important. Yes, your business should be coming up on Google Maps if somebody's looking, if someone's looking for it when they're in the area, right? Make sure that you're being listed on all the maps. But Like if you're doing your due diligence and sharing your expertise in some way, shape, or form, whether it's a blog or video content, whatever, like that's organically going to help with your SEO in the long run, you know?
Well, and I think that's very important. And I tell my clients the same thing. You don't have to be everywhere, and you don't have to be or feel overwhelmed.
Right.
Like, oh my God, what if we don't spend $250,000 this year and be everywhere? Is it going to be a complete flop? And my answer is no.
No.
You just have to be strategic with, I mean, and the other thing I think is important too is if you want to throw a nickel at this and expect any kind of results, I would say don't waste that nickel.
Yeah, exactly.
And right, because you have to spend some money to make some money. But I feel like what we love helping manufacturers do is to get the most with what you have and to also have realistic expectations. This is not a short game, it's a long game. And it's also, I call it an ongoing conversation. Right. And that circle of, instead of like a funnel, I like to think of it as, you know, like the circle of life. I feel like it's the circle of your relationship. So it's, you know, they're a prospect, and then they are interested, and then they make, you know, they find you, like you, trust you, like Greg Michio talks about, and then they become a customer. But then there's that nurturing that happens before the next buying cycle starts, right? So you're continuously nurturing and being of service. And I think that's probably some of the difference of what you're preaching and I am as well. So gosh, we have to wrap up. This always goes way too quick. Would you like, what would be a piece of advice that you would give a manufacturer who, gosh, I don't know, they've thought about finding a niche. They've thought about, how do I make this easier, right? How do I make sales easier? I don't know, any piece of advice that you'd like to give somebody listening who, let's say they're a small manufacturer, they're not quite sure where to start with all this.
I always go back to my chart of I have two lists, you know, which customers were most profitable and which were most enjoyable, and you know which ones ended up on both lists, and then really get into the DNA of that customer, and you know, what is it about that customer that made them profitable and enjoyable? Like, was it the way that you were delivering the work? Was it how you know, the type of work that you were doing for them, or the type of communication that was happening, the all of the things. Drill down. Why? Keep asking why.
So I love that. Okay, so that's a simple exercise that anybody listening can do. If you're on the verge, on the precipice, you're thinking, okay, I'm sold. I've listened to what you guys were talking about. I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. I've been thinking about it. I'm ready. And I know I need to do this, but I'm not quite ready, you know, to hire somebody next week to help me do it. Start on your own, but start something. And I would say start with that list of customers. That is excellent advice. Well, gosh, thank you so much for being here. And thank you for everything that you're doing for manufacturers. It's a big deal.
It's been so awesome. I never, you know, like I said, 2 years ago, I never could have imagined where my life, my business would be now, because of that, niching down and getting really focused on who I mean, it's not just manufacturers that I work with. I don't just work with any manufacturer. Like, I work with a very specific type of manufacturer. They're contract manufacturers making custom parts for, you know, for larger manufacturers typically.
See, you're leading by example.
What's that?
You're leading by example.
Leading by example. Yeah, exactly. And they have to be in a transition phase. They're either there's a new ownership, or they've been in business for 5-10 years and they're ready to, you know, actually invest money in their marketing and not just go by the seat of their pants. And you know, there's it's that transition period where they're trying to rebrand, make a new name for themselves, and get more intentional about what they're doing. So
love it. Love it, love it, love it. Well, thank you so much. And for you listening, if you're not already connected with Emily on LinkedIn, please reach out and do that. And like I said, if you're not already subscribed to the Manufacturing Masters platform, run over and do that now, because again, her videos are amazing, along with 129 other experts in manufacturing that you can use and learn from to grow your business faster. If you're not already subscribed to this podcast, please get your booty over and do that on Apple and leave a review if you feel like that this is has value. You know, it just lets other people know too that there is value in tuning into this. And we just want to say thank you to you manufacturers for the work that you do every day. It's meaningful and it matters, and we appreciate you. So everybody, until next time.
If you're not already, subscribe to the Manufacturing Masters podcast on Apple Music or Spotify. And for a deeper dive, head on over to manufacturing-masters.com. It's everything they never taught you in school.